So today I'm starting you off on a new series. I'm starting a big project in my son's room. So to give you a little bit of background, when we bought our house, it was listed as 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and the third bedroom was the third floor of our house, which takes up 2/3 of what the rest of the house takes up. And then the other third of it is outside deck space, which is wonderful and we love it. However, it was not really a bedroom. Yes, there was a closet that had a hot water heater in it and a giant bathroom that had a lot of wasted space, but there's no door. It's just like an open lot. Like you come up the stairs, there's no door to the stairs. There's no door at the top of the stairs, bottom of the stairs. There's no door anywhere. So I don't know how that's a bedroom. I guess if you're technical, whatever, but there's no privacy. So about a year after we moved into this house, we put a door at the bottom of the stairs to give some privacy up there and also to help with the echo from the stairwell because it's really loud. We didn't do it at the top of the stairs because there are vaulted ceilings up there and they're really tall and there are lots of angles. Anyway, so we did this door, and then when we had our son, we turned that space, which was our like playroom / TV room, into his bedroom. It's always been where our guest bed was, and at the top of my list since we moved into this house 5 years ago was a Murphy bed, turning the guest bed into a Murphy bed. It's taken me 5 years and it's always been at the top of my list, but I'm finally getting to it. Not today, but that's part of the whole project. So there's so many things that I want to do in this space to make it a better use of this space, make it a fun space for both my kids, and to do a custom bed for my son like I did for my daughter with her house bed. So first things first is better utilizing the space in the closet. So this closet is obnoxious because I swear, this builder didn't consult anyone when they designed the layout of this house. They put the hot water heater in this closet. Okay. So it takes up a lot of space, and you know, there's always that threat of something leaking. Anyway, one of the first projects I did do when we moved into this house was put shelves in that closet and add some drawers just to better utilize the space because again, they just put wire shelves in it. I have so many thoughts about wire shelves and how useless they are and how much room they take up, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, so my plan is to take the dressers that are hanging out in my son's room and put them in the closet because the dressers are empty. We have not used them. They used to be in our closet, the master closet, and when I built out our closet, we didn't need them anymore. And so I put them upstairs in my son's room. I redid them. They've just been hanging out in there. We don't put any of his stuff in it. All of his clothes, all of his stuff is downstairs in our living area. His pajamas are in my bathroom because he showers in my bathroom. So it's better use to use those drawers for all the stuff that's in the closet and take out all the little drawers and take out a shelf or two and better utilize that space. And it frees up the space that those dressers are taking in the main room, and then I can get started on other projects like the Murphy bed. So today we're gonna redo the closet, get those dressers in there, and just better utilize all of this space. So let's get started. As I said, you come up the stairs, there's this closet that we're going to tackle today, this huge bathroom that I added storage to, and then all of this other open space. So like I said, today the dressers are going into the closet. First thing I needed to do was make sure there really was in fact nothing in the drawers. And there was a little bit in a couple of the drawers. Mostly music that my husband left in here from when he played guitar, and then our carrying case for our Alouette. A few old Halloween costumes, some clothes that I need to put away because they will still fit my son in the winter, I hope, because they're big, and the carrying case for our Nintendo Switch. Again, that's it. Nothing that is going to really impede me using these for other stuff. Next step was taking everything out of the closet because, again, in order to put stuff away, I need to see what I have. I need to purge everything. And it turns out there's a lot of stuff. I have tons of fabric. I use it and I have plans for a lot of it, including stuff for up here. Can't wait to show you. Oh, and our tub topper. Our daughter used that tons when she was still taking baths, and our son only likes showers, so holding on to it for now. But there's just so much stuff in here. Stuff that I need to sell, stuff that just shouldn't be in here anymore and I just need to get rid of, and stuff that needs to be sorted. Once I was able to get all of the extra stuff out, I then went and took out these drawers. You can just get them at Walmart. They're super easy. They are really nice. And I took those out so that I could then start filling the dresser drawers. I decided the tall dresser is going to be for all of my crafting stuff. So all my fabric, all of my Cricut supplies, as much of my Cricut materials and accessories that I can possibly fit. And it turns out that stuff that was in, I think, 2 sets of drawers, the little gray drawers that I took out of the closet, as well as multiple giant bags, all fit into this dresser along with the Cricut accessories on the very top drawer. The only thing that didn't fit in here was the actual Cricut. The lower, longer dresser I decided was going to have all of my gift wrapping stuff, the gift stuff that I hold on to for when I need gift ideas for people, stuff that I get for my kids that I need to hide places, as well as all of my party supplies. And again, this was all stashed between one set of drawers, multiple small buckets, and a couple of bags, and it all fit in this dresser. And I still have an empty drawer, which is probably what I'll use to stash my kids' gifts when I need to hide them, because they don't go through drawers, which is really nice. I was even able to dedicate an entire drawer just to ribbon, which is incredible to me. One of the goals for working in this closet is I didn't want to buy anything. Didn't want to buy any organizers, any buckets, nothing. So everything you see here, I already owned. I'm happy to link everything, but I didn't buy anything for this. Once I filled up the drawers, I then sorted through everything else that needed to go back into the closet. And like I said, there was a lot of stuff that I really didn't need to be holding on to anymore. Stuff that I could donate or put in a different spot or just needed to be reorganized, like the cord bucket. And if you've been here long enough, you know that I love a good purge and cleaning and reorganizing a couple of times a year. So this was really therapeutic to do this halfway through the year. It was also a really good opportunity for me to decide that we were going to sell some things. Like we have these Roku speakers that we've had for a long time that we used to use. But that was before we got our Lovesac sectional couch that has the built-in speakers. So we don't need them anymore. So we're just going to get rid of those. And I condensed so much stuff and I put stuff back where I wanted it to go or in new places or got rid of stuff. And it's just so therapeutic to do this. The next thing that I did was actually put all of the stuff back into my organizing system. This is the file system that I use to keep track of all of our important documents, everything that really comes in the mail that I need to keep track of. And you can get the instructions and the download for how to do this filing system, how to keep up with it, and how to categorize everything on my site. It is the Life Binder. And since I hadn't categorized, sorted, or filed anything away in over a year, this was really good for me to do. I also had a bunch of documents that we had to get in order to go to Argentina. In order to get our visas, we had to get a bunch of documents apostilled and translated, and I carried them around with us when we were in Argentina. And then I also have our passports, and I keep them in these waterproof and fireproof folders. I will link those for you as well because these are really nice to have, especially when in the US you have to have a real ID or a passport to travel domestically with now. I'm just going to use our passports because we all have valid passports. I honestly didn't even bother getting a real ID because it's kind of ridiculous and I have a passport already. The last thing in all of this was sorting through all of my kids' stuff and putting them in their forever file boxes. This is another download that you can get on my website. All of my downloads are either free or $5, and I just file this stuff into their forever file boxes. And that way I can't keep everything because it's not going to fit. And I really only keep the important stuff, which is nice. Once I had everything out, I then took out the 3 sets of gray plastic drawers, and it was time to take out shelves. The first shelf on the longer wall was actually just some screws and brackets, and I attached it. So it's super easy to pull it out, patch up the wall, sand it down, paint it. Doesn't even look like it was even there. The other shelf on the other wall was a little bit trickier. So this is what I was talking about when I said that I put shelves into this closet when we first moved into this house. I put these really sturdy, thick floating shelves in. And honestly, it was really hard to get these out, which is making me feel really good about the shelves because that means that they're in there really well and they could hold a lot of weight. But I had to remove the covers that I put on the outside of the shelves and then pry the covers off and then start removing all of the screws that I had screwed into the studs of the walls. I was originally planning on removing the 2 lowest shelves on this wall in order to fit the dresser in here, but my mom looked at it and was like, if you take the feet off the dresser, you only have to remove 1 shelf. And I'm really grateful that she told me that because I was not expecting this to take as long as it did to remove the shelf. And I don't want to have to do it twice. So I'm really glad I didn't have to. And amazingly enough, there was not a lot of damage to the wall, which I'm pretty proud of myself for. Just a little bit of damage to the drywall from where the caulk was and then the little holes where the screws were that went into the studs. So I just patched those up and made sure all the caulk was off and then sanded it down and painted it. Again, can't even tell it was there. While the paint was drying, I then went and got the dressers prepped to go into the closet. We had this changing table that we got when our son was born that you can attach to anything.
We used it like 3 times. And so got rid of that, took that off of the dresser, and then started taking the drawers out of the dressers. I know you're probably wondering why I filled the drawers and then took them out of the dressers instead of doing it the other way around. But honestly, it was because I needed to see what was going to fit in the dressers before I started putting things back. And I thought this was the most efficient way to do it without destroying my son's room and having it a giant mess for a couple of weeks. And I liked how this turned out better anyway. So once I got the drawers out, I then started scooching the dressers into the closet. I started off with the lower, wider dresser because that's going to go against that back wall. And it was honestly pretty easy to get into the closet. The only thing I needed to make sure was that I scooched it over towards the water heater enough that the door could open and close and the drawers didn't impact that or didn't hit the door when I opened them. The larger dresser, the taller one, was a different story. So obviously I took all of those drawers out as well, and I took the feet off of that dresser, which again was not that big of a deal, got it all cleaned up and started taking it into the closet. That's when things got a little interesting. One, I knew it was going to block the light switch, so I need to make sure it was far out enough that I could still get to the light switch. But the issue was getting the drawers back into the dresser, and some of them, especially towards the bottom where that pipe is, I needed to actually scooch the dresser back out, put those bottom 2 drawers in, scoot it back and fill them, and then put the rest of the drawers in. But I made it work. Then I started putting the rest of the stuff that needed to go back into the closet in there. I did need to do a little bit of sorting again, and I added new labels to the closet because if you've been around long enough, you know I love a good label, not just for me, but for my entire neurodivergent family. That way we all know where everything is, or at least where it's supposed to be. So if you can't find it there, I don't know where it is. And if I don't put it back there, I had a system and didn't work that time. But at least I tried, right? These are all toys that I'm going to hold on to and just pull out when my son wants them. He's easier to rotate toys with than my daughter. Here is the closet all put back together. I have leftover space now because I got rid of so much stuff. Isn't that nice? That means it's time to go to the next part of this project.
So there we go. Better utilized space. The dressers are now out of my son's room. They're in the closet. They took up so much of that stuff that I really was not thinking it would hold all that stuff, but they really did, and I was surprised. It took a little finagling to get that taller dresser in there because there were the pipes from the hot water heater, but made it work. All the drawers can be opened, so that's a plus. And I still have some space left, and I got to purge stuff, and that was really helpful. So like I said, the next video in this series will be doing the Murphy bed. It's gonna be a bit because we're about to go out of town and I'm not gonna do anything right before we go to town, right after we get out of town, because I have some other things I'm working on. And so it'll probably be a month or 2 before you see the next video in this series, but keep an eye out for it. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like and follow if you like this video, and I will see you next time.